friends, we're going to draw a patternscape today, which is just a landscape that has patterns in it. To get started, I'm going to make a horizon line. A horizon line is just where the grass meets the sky or the mountains meet the sky. I want mine to look like it's in the country, not the city, so I'm going to make lines like this. This makes it look like there are crops or different plants growing. I can make mine look like it has a lot of depth. Depth is when something gets further away. By angling my lines like this, it makes it look like it gets smaller as it moves away. This is the foreground of my piece here, the front. I'm going to make some things in the background. You have a worksheet, and mine's a little ripped here, but that's okay, that has examples of different things you might add. These are not the only things you can add. These are just ideas. I'm going to make a little house here with windows. Maybe I will put a barn next to the house. This one I'm going to make it look like it's 3D. I'm making a square with a triangle on top, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 diagonal lines. Then I'm going to connect this and connect there. Now it looks like it's 3D. There's a barn. I think I'm going to make a fence next to my barn. Maybe I'll add a little tree next to this house. Then maybe I'll put a sun that's setting over here. And these, again, are not the only things you can add. You can make up your own details. Now comes the pattern part. I gave you some examples of patterns. These are not the only patterns you can use. I'm going to make diagonal lines in this crop or farm area, then opposite to make cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is like tic-tac-toe. I'll make some wavy lines in this area. And again, you can make up your own patterns. Spirals, polka dots, and then I think these kind of bumpy lines. I can add patterns in the things in the background. Maybe this is a polka dotted sun. Maybe there are clouds that have little swirly lines inside. Okay, now I'm ready for painting. I'm going to use something called watercolor paint. These are watercolor paints. When you use watercolor paints, you need to dip your paintbrush into water and then wake up the color by stirring. Watercolor paint is not supposed to be thick. It's supposed to be very, very thin, like water. You should be able to see your lines in your paper through. When I'm done and I want to switch colors, I need to rinse my brush. Now, if you want, you can choose realistic colors. I think I'm going to do imaginative colors and make some of my ground areas this purplish pink. When I'm painting, I'm remembering that my paintbrush is like a ballerina. Ballerinas always dance on their tiptoes. This is the tiptoes of my paintbrush. They never ever scoot around on their bottoms. This is the bottom of the paintbrush, the metal part, because nobody wants to go to the booty scooting ballet. So make sure that you always rinse your brush and that you always dance on tiptoes. When I'm painting, sometimes I'll notice that my paintbrush starts to feel a little bit scratchy, and it's doing it right there. That means that my paintbrush is thirsty and I need to add water. So again, I'm never mixing the colors, and I'm keeping my paintbrush nice and wet. And I'm gonna keep working like that until my whole piece is painted in either realistic or imaginative colors. That will be your choice. Now, when I do use watercolor paint, sometimes they do something called bleeding. Bleeding is not a dangerous thing that happens with paint. It's when the paint kind of blends together where it's wet. And that's okay. That's something that happens with watercolors, and I don't want you to stress out about it. It actually winds up looking really pretty when your piece is done. All right, now my piece is just about finished. It's full of color and it's full of pattern. It's inspired by the landscapes that Grant Wood painted.